Hello, everybody, and welcome back to a very special edition or a very special night here on Miami Total Football Radio, the show History. Because if you have not heard or did not see my tweets earlier today, we will be doing not one, but two shows tonight, back to back. The people were clamoring for a show in Spanish, and we're listening. We're giving the people what they want. Un programa en inglés, uno en español. So one show in English, right afterwards, one in Spanish. So we're going to make good on our time limit of an hour and 10 minutes. And if we don't, then I will yellow or red card myself and our co-host, who, as you can see, is sporting a new look for the occasion. Jose Armando, a.k.a. Island Jose, a.k.a. Cinco, with the glasses. Are you like going for a Clark Kent thing? Are we supposed to not recognize you, or?
No, you should. This is my second time. My second or third time I wear glasses.
Okay.
So
I don't
yeah,
remember.
Andrea likes for me to wear glasses because I'm on the screen for too long during the day. So this is the time where I remember about it.
Happy wife, happy life, and you have to listen to her. Otherwise,
correct. Yes,
you
as
get
you know,
you get in trouble.
as you know, yes.
Yeah, I'm looking for my yellow card and my red card. I don't know where they are.
Those are for the second show.
I found them. It's probably very likely for the second show.
Yes.
But they're going to have two different shows, right? I'm not going to dive into what we're going to talk about on the Spanish show. If you want to tune into the Spanish show, that is in an hour. There's already comments here. MVS habla en español. El programa en español es en una hora. Entonces, si solamente quieren escuchar el show en español, regresen en una hora con el nuevo enlace y todo. Pero el show de Miami Total Football Radio en español es en 60 minutos. El de inglés es ahorita. The English show is right now. The Spanish show is later. So there you go. And I'll probably have to reiterate that throughout. I thought I made it clear in the tweets, but I will again reiterate for anybody who missed. Jose, how are you? How's everything going?
Well, I'm good, but our little Figo is not doing very good. Well, he's better now. He had a little bit of a mass removed, and so we're dealing with that at home. It's like a lot of you think you're busy and you think you don't have time for a lot of stuff, and then something like this happens, and then you really figure out what really drives you and what matters. But he's doing better.
Well, that's good to hear. And if you're not familiar or you're not 100% sure on who Figo is Jose.
Not the player.
No, yeah, it's Jose and Andrea, aka our beloved Ajicita's dog, their pets.
Yes.
Beautiful dog. He's older. So I guess he's got some complications lately, but he's on the road to recovery. Like one Lionel Messi, which we will talk about the latest on the Argentine superstar later on. Jose, I introduced you. I did not introduce myself. There's a lot going on in my mind. There's a lot of words, English, Spanish. So it's a lot happening here. But I am Franco Panizo, your usual co-host. I'll be on both shows. Jose will only be with us for the English version, while I would love for him to be on the Spanish version. He's got other commitments, other obligations. But Jose, let's not waste any more time on any more pleasantries because it's been a busy week. We have a lot to talk about. And again, we'll get to Messi's latest in a little bit. Let's start with the most recent, which is there's some purple there on the jersey you're wearing, I see. And
a little bit of purple, yes.
Florida is purple, at least right now, because Orlando City, for the second time this season, beat Inter Miami by 3 goals in the most recent edition of what I call the Sunshine Clásico, El Clásico del Sol. Call it the Florida Derby, call it whatever you want. But Inter Miami went up to Central Florida over the weekend on Sunday night and was trounced, was mauled, una goleada. 4-1 defeat to the arch rivals Orlando City. The lone goal from Inter Miami came via Yannick Bright on a very nice volleyed effort at the top of the box. His first goal in MLS, if I remember correctly, with Inter Miami. It came a couple minutes after Orlando City had gotten off to a dream start in the game. There was a few more moments, a couple more stretches where Inter Miami was in it. But by and large, this was a very disappointing performance. Orlando City was the better team, created more chances, and ultimately in the second half, they showed that difference. 3 goals. Four of the Lions' goals come from their 3 DPs. So all of the DPs found the back of the net. Jose, what was your thoughts, your initial impressions on that loss to Orlando City for Inter Miami?
Well, the first thing that caught my attention was the lack of energy for Inter Miami. I think there was no intensity from the get go, and I think the goal actually didn't help them in that sense because um, they felt comfortable coming in. I think they overlooked a little bit Orlando. They go down a goal and quickly, just right away, they are able to score the equalizer. Then that means, in the player's mind, with the mindset that they brought into the game, it felt like, oh, okay, so they score on us, no problem, we can get back at them. So we're just gonna do it again. We don't know when, but we're gonna score a second goal and we're gonna win the game. And they were so relaxed, and then the worst case scenario for Inter Miami happened. Orlando kept the foot on the pedal, and they were overall a much better team. And I did appreciate Javier Mascherano in the post match press conference, because he did acknowledge that, and I think that's something that um, the people that know the team, that know the players, that know the way they've been playing, we saw it right away. I'm sure you agree with me that there was no energy at all from the team.
And I think that's what really bothered him the most was la falta de actitud, like the team's attitude, the demeanor, the way they approach the game. Like we've both said here on this show that we think Mascherano is a defensive-minded coach, and I think most people, except for maybe Mascherano and maybe some of his staff, maybe not all of his staff, but some of his staff would agree, by and large, that he is a defensive-minded coach. So obviously, when you take 4 goals against your arch rival, I mean, that's going to sting, right? Because you pride yourself on being tough to play against, tough to break down. You want to stay organized, something that Noah Allen touched on in the post-game, his post-game interview. But I did like, and I do want to underline or highlight that Javier Mascherano did take responsibility, which I like. I like that he's, honest, he's self-critical, autocrítico, and he acknowledges that it wasn't good enough. So let's listen to Javier Mascherano. He had some pretty good sound bites. The press conference was very short, but he had some pretty good sound bites when he talked about the defeat. So let's listen to one of them here. We'll have more on the Spanish edition, but let's listen to Javier Mascherano on there being only one team on the field, and that was Orlando City.
Buenas noches. El fútbol es fácil. A veces lo hacemos más complejo de lo que es. Cuando vos no estás al 100%, cualquier equipo te desnuda. Y hoy hubo un solo equipo, que fue Orlando. No jugamos ni con la intensidad que se necesita jugar este partido. Y claramente nos superaron desde el primer minuto hasta el último. Por algún pasaje, después del gol, del empate, pudimos emparejarlo un poquito. Pero bueno, claramente muy dolido, muy preocupado, pero sobre todo nos deja pensando que si realmente queremos competir, este no es el camino. Lo siento, pero este no es el camino. Claramente el responsable soy yo, porque soy el entrenador, pero no hay mucho que decir. Hubo un solo equipo en la cancha.
So to paraphrase for those that don't speak Spanish, obviously this is the English show. See, there's a lot happening here in my head today. He said there was only one team, that this is not the way, that if Inter Miami wants to achieve things, that this can't be the way. Pretty much just saying there was only one team on the field. And Jose, why do you think that is, right? Like, what does Jose Armando from his seat think the reasons were for that type of performance from Inter Miami? Because I know you talked about the subs. There's a later question about, are they tired from so many games? And Mascherano didn't want to offer up any excuses. He said, nope, not today. There's no excuses today, which again, also like that he didn't take the easy way out in saying that there's excuses for this or that. He completely shut that down. So what do you attribute that to? Is this just an inconsistent team? Is it just a bad night? It happens in football. What do you attribute Sunday nights to?
No, I think it's just a bad night. I think it's it's growing pains. I think this is something good in the long run, and I'm sure Mascherano will use this moving forward. It doesn't matter who they play against; they just have to be ready. And I just don't buy the hype about this being like a huge rivalry. And I like the fact that there was some physicality within the game. But if this was a huge rivalry, and if Inter Miami would look at this game like a rivalry, then they wouldn't come out this way. We know clásicos all over the world, and we know how intense they can be. And but I think this is just a one night. This is just a one night for Inter Miami. I was disappointed because because the starters don't have the right approach coming in. It doesn't mean that the rest of the team, because they should have the same. Because there are players within this team that come in the second half that they should provide a spark, at least provide a spark, do something different, do something special, show a little bit more energy. And I don't think we saw that from the team as a whole. So he made a few changes, and still, the team was not performing. So that was something that might be a little bit concerning moving forward, because players that are looking for opportunities need to have they need to show their personality on the field. And I'm not pointing out necessarily Fafa in particular, but he's the one player that I get on my social media all the time. When Tadeo is not playing well, Telasco is not playing well, Luis Suarez is not playing well, everybody wants Fafa to play. But aside from the fact that Mascherano doesn't rate him very high and doesn't give him enough, when Fafa gets to start or play significant minutes, he hasn't been able to, have an impact in games. So I can see how the player that is not on the field is the one that can solve every single problem. That's soccer 101. But I think those players coming in, and Baltazar and everybody that comes in, should do a little bit better in this type of scenarios.
So that was your question post game to him about the lack of impact from the substitutes. I disagree with you that it was just a bad night. I think this team, especially without Messi, is just when they face, let's say, upper level opposition in the league, they're not at that level. They're very top heavy, right? There's a lot of big names. Hay nombres, quizás no tantos hombres, right? There's not necessarily after the big four, the big five now, if you want to call them, or whatever new nickname we're going to chalk it up to or give them, Fantastic Five, I don't know, Los Cinco Fantásticos. And I think they're just not that great, especially given that they have attacking struggles for all the things we've talked about this year. I mean, again, listen, we could talk about the defense being disorganized, and that can be something you point to. And the game was pretty wide open and it was stretched. There was a lot of spaces for Orlando to attack. It looked more like maybe I don't want to say that because then people could confuse that, but it looked more defensively like a Tata Martino team than Javier Mascherano team, or Javier Mascherano's team, like you always say jokingly or not jokingly, El Candado, right? Because we always talk about how tight they are, how they look to close the games out. The lock for those that don't speak Spanish. But it was a very wide open game. So that part I understand, but the attack still didn't generate a whole lot without Messi, right? The lone goal comes from Yannick Bright scoring his first MLS goal. We've never seen him score before. We've never seen him score a volley. It was a hell of a goal. Not going to take it away from him. Hell of a goal. Impressive first goal. But it's not something you normally count on. It's something unexpected. The output from the attack was next to nothing. Yes, we know Luis Suarez has dipped in form tremendously this year. He's not the same Luis Suarez from a year ago, but we did see him recently put up a 2-assist, 1-goal performance, and that maybe had people thinking he might turn the corner and be able to pick up his performance levels. But this was a better opponent. Away
No,
from
but
home,
he had
out
of the last 5 games, he has played well in the last 4 games.
I don't agree with that. I don't necessarily agree with that.
It has been good performances from him. He's just a different player now. He's just a different player. You can't demand 25 goals from him anymore.
Look, you can't demand 25, but you can demand more than what you're getting right now.
Well, how many goals he has? 10 already in the season?
He has 10 across all competitions, and that includes the games against Cavalier.
Well, last year he had 25 in all competitions as well. So he's not very far from reaching 15. You know MLS. He can score 2 or 3 in one game, and then
He could.
things will change. But I what I'm saying is, it is a bad night for me because of how bad it was. I'm not saying that they can recover from this quickly, or is something that they shouldn't worry about. What I'm saying is that even if they don't have good performances with Messi, which we all know they are a different team without him, but they're not going to end up losing 4-1. They might end up dropping a game 2-1, but at least fight for it. At least put some pressure on your opponent. But they didn't do that, and I don't see that happening regularly for this team moving forward, even if Messi's not on the field. That was my main point.
False 9 Mark says a bad night with a lot of question marks and exclamation points. Really? Be for real. This team is so heavily reliant on Messi. When he doesn't play, it's evident. And even when he does play and is having an off night, no one else steps up. There's no cohesion on this team, no offensive style, nothing. Tactics, what's that? Because Mascherano doesn't either. There's a comment. So I think false 9 Mark's more on my side than your side in this debate. But we'll see what happens with Inter Miami going forward. We'll see if, again, when they play the top level teams, I mean, with Messi, you expect them to perform better, but without him, are we going to see more of this, or do we see a different Inter Miami? Is it just a bad night, as you have made your point?
Yeah, and then there's the typical MLS situation where the next game they face LA Galaxy at home, the worst team in the conference. They score 4 goals on them, and then everybody thinks everything is solved, which is not the case. It's for me, it's just a one game, and I'm not gonna tell you, even if Messi doesn't play on Saturday, which I think he will play, but if he doesn't play on Saturday, and they win 4-0, 4-1, 5-1, 6-1, it doesn't mean that they solve every problem without him. It's just MLS. It's like going back to the Phil Neville days. When he was in a very tough stretch, and then guess what? Here comes Miami FC in Open Cup. He wins on penalties, and everything is perfect. Or here comes Toronto FC, or back in the day, I think Cincinnati was bad also.
So that's a good point, Jose. And I'm gonna come back to that in a second, but I just want to touch on Luis Suarez. He has 5 goals in the MLS regular season this year. That is a bad haul for a man that plays as many minutes as he does. Sure, he's not as young as he used to be, and he does bring other elements to the game that he does well at often, but you need your striker scoring goals.
But he has 15 assists, and I've checked, and they are
secondary
all good
assists.
No.
Secondary assists. No.
I checked. I'd have
to go. Yeah, I'd have to go back and check, because I mean, I can't.
They are.
I can't deny that. I can't deny that, but I can't. No lo puedo negar, tampoco lo puedo comprobar. I have to.
That's a lot, though. That's a big number for. I think that doesn't lead the league. That leads Inter Miami by far. But there are some of the things that he's providing. I agree with Mascherano on this one. I think he was not off to a good start. But I think he's starting to catch up a little bit. I think he's catching up, and obviously it's a good sign for Inter Miami. We'll see if he can keep it up. Then again, Saturday is perfect.
I cannot confirm or deny those numbers, but I'll take your word for it. I will double check though, because I'm a stickler for such
triple
things.
check.
But talking about, like you said earlier, about they could play the Galaxy this weekend at home, and then they post a lopsided victory, and then things are much more pleasant. Things are much more rosy, and maybe we're back to Disney World, to use Javier Mascherano's term from earlier in the year. But look, let's be fair. Let's try to be as balanced as possible here. That's the point of the show. Inter Miami right now is in 6th place, as you can see here on your screen. They have 42 points from 23 games, with a 12 win, 6 tie, and 5 loss record. Jose, they have 3 games in hand over the Philadelphia Union. If they were to win all 3 of the games in hand, which is never a guarantee, so let me make that clear, it's not a guarantee that you win your games in hand. Games in hand do not necessarily mean points in hand. But if they win their 3 games in hand, how many points would they have?
They would have 51. They would tie.
51. So they'd be tied for first place. So it's not all doom and gloom in terms of, where they're at in the table, where they're at overall. There can be, and I think rightly so, questions and concerns about el rendimiento, el funcionamiento, the functioning of the team, the performance levels of the team, Mascherano's tactics. I think those are all fair questions. Different players maybe not performing as well as they can, like Suarez maybe, in my opinion. But the team is still in decent shape. Does it have to get better? Absolutely. And I think that's one of the things that Mascherano was also indirectly saying in his post-game press conference. Clearly, they know that this group as it stands is probably not good enough. We've seen some movement, which we're going to talk about here in just a couple minutes. Some players going out, at least one player coming in. So I think that was, an example of this current group as it's constructed isn't good enough. We're going to make a couple of changes. Hopefully that makes us better. That's how I perceived a lot of what he was saying in the post-game presser. So let's switch gears, Jose, because like you said, before the red light went on here on the show, there is a lot to talk about. So the next topic, we're going to talk about Federico Redondo, who is no longer an Inter Miami player. He was sold this week to La Liga side, Spanish First Division side, Elche. Redondo done at Inter Miami, only scored 2 goals in his time here. I'm going to ask you, I already have my opinion, but I'm going to ask you for yours before I give mine. Before we do that, we will read the release from Inter Miami, which reads, quote, Inter Miami announced today it has transferred midfielder Federico Redondo to Spanish La Liga side Elche CF. Inter Miami CF will retain a sell-on percentage in the event of a future permanent transfer of the midfielder. Redondo, 22, joined Inter Miami in February 2024 and went on to make 60 appearances across all competitions, contributing 2 goals and 4 assists. Notably, he was part of the squad that secured the 2024 Supporter Shield with a record-breaking 74 points in the regular season to win the second title in club history. I don't know if that's a title. It's a trophy. I don't know if it's a title. Sorry, I went off script there. The last paragraph of the release says, the club would like to thank Federico for his contributions on and off the pitch throughout his time with Inter Miami and wish him well in the future. End quote. So going back to what I was saying, I don't know if that Supporter Shield counts as a title. It's definitely a trophy, but it's not a title. You could say it's semantics, but I would disagree with that. Jose, what do you make of the move to part ways with the Argentine midfielder?
I think it was a good move for both parts. I think Inter Miami did realize that, at this point, Federico Redondo was a good player, but, not what they expected. I mean, it was just okay. And I think that's what, really, that's why I'm saying it was really beneficial on both parts because, I think the other side of the story, which is that Redondo started losing ground. He was a starter for this team, but then Yannick Bride showed up, then Rodrigo de Paul comes in, and all of a sudden, and even recently, Federico Redondo is in the game for the last 20, 25 minutes, and only if they really need a player of his style. I think it was not a good scenario for him. And at the end of the day, he's moving on to, La Liga. It might not be a top team, but it is, the dream to play for anybody in La Liga or the Premier League or I don't know if El Calcio anymore, but Serie A is still a big deal. So I think it was good. It was good for both. Now, I'm not 100% sure if Fede is ready to play in La Liga, but he's there now, and it's a good opportunity for him. And for Inter Miami, I think it's a hit and miss for this team with how they sign players. I think they've missed a lot recently, and this time they were able to get at least something back out of him. But I think they paid $8 million. Is that correct? Because I heard that around, and I need to double check that. But if they did pay and sold,
reportedly they paid $8 million when they signed him.
Yeah, and they sold him for. Yeah,
they're selling him for I think it's $2.5 million for half. Again, reportedly, this is not in my information. This is information that was reported out there. They're paying $2.5 million for half. They're selling $2.5 million for half of his pass. So they keep 50% of his pass in case he gets sold later on. But if that happens, then if that does not happen, then they do not recuperate anything else.
So the value will be around 5
if you
right
want to
now.
say yes, 5.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Although
So
they did not get 5.
yeah.
Now, Jose, I want to ask you before again I go into my full-fledged opinion here. You said he was a good midfielder. Why do you think then it did not work for him here? Why was he unsuccessful? Because by and large, I mean, can you remember one amazing game from Federico Redondo this time here?
No, there's not that one memorable game that nobody will forget about him. But I think he had some good showings early on, but probably because of the excitement of getting here, and trying to show up a little bit. But after that, I think he relaxed a little bit, and we saw the day-to-day Fede Redondo, and it wasn't great. It wasn't great. I think he missed an opportunity of playing alongside Busquets. I think he should have taken a lot more advantage of that. And every player has his own style, but you can still pick things up from the best. And I don't think he did. We didn't see a different Fede Redondo as time went on, and I think that applies for so many other players with Inter Miami, like Toto Avilés, for example. I mean, it's basically the same player that we saw from the first day up until if he plays on Saturday, we'll probably see the best player. We haven't seen major improvements. And I think that's the main thing with Fede. He still needed to take another step, and we'll see if he can do that in La Liga.
I will give my opinion, but I want us to listen to Benjamin Kremaski touch on Redondo's departure during availability earlier in the week. This took place on Wednesday morning. Let's listen to Benjamin Kremaski on Federico Redondo off to Elche in Spain.
Sí, obviamente con Fede tenemos muy buena relación, con los chicos tenemos un grupo bárbaro y nos llevamos muy bien con Fede, siempre fue alguien que quería hacer cosas entre equipos, juntarnos, pero nada, también agradecerle por todos los momentos que nos dio acá en el club y desearle lo mejor, que creo que le va a ir muy bien en España. Creo que su juego, le gusta tener la pelota, así que desearle lo mejor, que es una liga muy grande, va a ser muy lindo desafío para él, así que nada, lo acompañaremos desde acá, él creo que nos va a seguir escribiendo, nos va a estar siguiendo, así que nada, de nuevo desearle lo mejor, agradecerle por todos esos momentos y listo.
Translation for those that don't speak or understand Spanish. He wishes him the best of luck. Federico Redondo was someone that off the field tried to, get the group together and tried to, I guess, make plans for the group or to get them or a lot of them together just for different outings or events or activities. Thinks that La Liga obviously is a big opportunity for him and that, he thinks he's going to do well there. A lot of teammate talk. The part that sticks with me that will go into my opinion as to why he didn't do well here. This is just one of the reasons, in my opinion. Benjamin Kremaski says, es su juego, es su estilo. Le gusta tener la pelota, which would translate to it's his style of play. He likes to have the ball. Well, here at Inter Miami, the guy in the midfield who has the ball is Sergio Busquets. So Federico Redondo was not going to get as many touches as maybe would play to his strengths. Maybe on a different team without Busquets, he's more of that guy that gets on the ball. Whether you think he's good or not, that's a different subject. But maybe that plays more to his strengths. Here, he was asked with a lot of running, tasked with a lot of being a workhorse in that midfield. And I don't think, another reason, this league suits his strength. It's a very transitional league. Is Federico Redondo the strongest, the fastest? No. So I don't think, one, the league suited him because of the style of play here. And two, on a team where Sergio Busquets is going to get most of the touches, and when you're paired next to him, you're going to be tasked with doing a lot of physical labor or a lot of tireless running, then it's not going to help him, develop or unfold or showcase his best qualities. I think those are big factors. I also do think personally he's a bit limited. I don't necessarily think he's going to come out to be this tremendous player. Like if I had to bet on it, I don't think Inter Miami is going to get anything more from a future sale. Could be wrong. You know, if that happens down the line, I'll come back and say, yeah, I was wrong. But I just don't see that. I just don't see him. I don't see him. Like, what is he exceptional at? What is his real strength as a player? Is he super technical? Tiene buena patada? Is he a great passer? Because he committed a lot of turnovers that would lead to transition moments. What is his strength? Right? I don't think he's as good as he was made out to be. This is a bust signing for Inter Miami. Which look, that happens. You got to try to be as balanced as possible. That happens. You will miss on some signings. And as Chris Henderson once told me in a conversation we had when he was here at Inter Miami, former sporting director, he said, you're going to miss. It's a matter of, or it's about hitting on more than you miss, right? Because if you miss on a lot of signings and don't hit on a lot of them, then clearly you're not very good at your job. You're going to miss eventually. For Inter Miami, this was a miss.
But I think he's going to get better. You know, he's only 22 years old. I think this is like perfect for him to go there. I think he'll get better. I think we'll see a different player by the end of the year. I mean, the end of the season, I should say, in Spain. I just there's a gap, you know, between the development of players here in the States and in Spain, in Italy, in France. That it's a huge gap. You know, there's a completely different understanding of what a player needs to be successful at that level that he hasn't been able to experience here or in Argentina. So I'm not saying that he's going to be a target for Real Madrid by the end of the season, but I would expect him to be a better player.
I mean, I think the league will suit him, so maybe it allows him to have better performances. I just don't think he's going to take a massive leap forward. I don't see it, but maybe I'm wrong. Could be. Been wrong before. Could be wrong again. The comment section had me laughing while you were talking there because Francisco Garcia adds esta joya, this amazing gem, and he says, "La tía es muy guapa," which translates to his aunt is very good looking. And he gives us the name, Liz Solari. Liz Solari is about to get a couple of Google searches now here on Miami Total Football.
I don't know Liz Solari.
I want to touch on a different comment here from Pedri Potter. And it says, I told so-called true Inter Miami fans that Redondo will go to Europe before all the gringos. They like to hype just because they're from the academy. They were laughing. All right, Pedri Potter, I'm going to... Well, unfortunately for you, I guess. I'm going to burst your bubble, my friend. Do you know who Federico Redondo's agent is? Who is his representante? Jose laughs because he knows where I'm going with this. His representante's name is Christian Bragarnik, Argentine, former player, but he's an agent. He is also, in addition to being Federico Redondo's agent, majority owner of Elche. Imagínate, imagine. So it's not like some big club in La Liga or some club in La Liga was like, you know what, that Fede Redondo, man, I think he could be of use to us. No, it's the agent who owns the team being like, you know what, I need a new home for my client. Well, this is an easy solution for me. You know, there we go. Just I'll pay the money, get it back, and I mean, this is unique, I think, especially in the MLS world. But yeah.
But it's happening a lot more than what it used to, and it's not a good look at all. It's not a good look at all. I mean, it's the same scenario with the same scenario that took Leon away from the Club World Cup. You know, the fact that they have the same ownership. It's a little bit different, but the same. You know, in the fact that, yes, you can move pieces around, but it's like within your same organization, even though, they're probably different companies, but just the same owner. It's crazy, but yeah, that's the main reason why Redondo will be playing in La Liga this year. No doubt about it.
Yeah, it's not because he impressed scouts with his amazing technical abilities that he's off to La Liga. So There you go.
Which, to be fair, if it's allowed,
It's allowed.
and
Of course. I mean, I
and
guess it's allowed.
yeah, I mean, if it's allowed, I mean, the agent is doing what's better for his client because the way
Como
things were looking
representante,
here,
sure. Como
yeah, the way things were
representante,
looking here, they
su
were bad.
trabajo.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Like an agent, he's doing his job. But again, this is not that Redondo earned this move. This is
Right.
a creative solution by his agent, who also owns or has a majority stakeholder. Is a majority stakeholder in
That
in the
shouldn't
team,
be
which-
allowed, man. Shouldn't be allowed. It's not a good look. Doesn't look good.
Uh,
If you're an agent, you cannot
imagine-
own a team.
Imagine what the other players that are in that locker room are going to be like thinking when they see him for the first time. Do you think they're going to be like, "Hey, you're the player that the owner represents, so we got to be super nice to you"? Or do you think in the back of their heads they're going to be like, "This mother effer is here just because"?
Nah, he has something to prove. He has
definitely
something to prove.
I wish him the best of luck. It wasn't the best interview, but all my exchanges with him, I don't know. I don't want to speak for you. They were as pleasant as they could be. Again, he wasn't the best interview subject, very short, very brief. Occasionally he, expanded a little bit more if the subject was of real interest to him or he had something to say, like recently about the referees and being from Mexico and the Leagues Cup, that whole thing. But he was pretty pleasant. Again, not the best talker, at least with us, maybe very guarded.
Yeah.
But seemed like a nice enough person. But
Yeah, I got frustrated at times with questions, but overall,
he always
I
did
think it
this.
was good.
This was his tell cuando está incómodo. Like I'm not a great poker player, but I can tell when I can see people's tells, especially when it's this obvious. Redondo, anytime he was uncomfortable when he was asked a certain question, he would start playing with the top of his ear like this while he answered. Always. Look at the tape. All the videos are Miami Total Football Radio as YouTube channel. Jose, we're switching gears. And this one's a big one. This is a big one. It's not official yet, but it's all but official. Drake Callender will soon no longer be an Inter Miami player. He is headed, reportedly, via trade to Charlotte FC, which already has a number one goalkeeper, but again, we'll dive into that here in a moment. The end of an era for Inter Miami. A lot of the long-standing fans who have been here from the early years, I mean, we're still in the early years, but the first couple years that have seen Drake Callender go from being the number 3 to the starter to, instrumental in the Leagues Cup trophy capture. He's on his way out. It's the end of an era. I think he's the last original player left, if I'm not mistaken, because Noah Allen was signed the second year. So I think Drake is the last one, I think, if I'm not mistaken. He's also the all-time appearance leader in Inter Miami history.
118.
So for a lot of fans, especially ones who were here but pre-Messi, this is an emotional farewell. It's very sentimental. People are frustrated that he's leaving. Others, not so much. Where do you stand on this trade? We don't know what Inter Miami is getting back, by the way, because I know that's going to be a question. So we don't know what they're going to get back in exchange for him. I imagine it'll be something decent. It'll be a decent haul because Drake Callender is a starter in this league, whether he starts in Charlotte or not. I don't know, but not at least in the short term. But Jose, what do you think? What do you think about this divorce?
Again, I think it's good for both sides. I think it's good. I know it's disappointing for the fans because, you get attached to players, which, is something that is essential for any team in any sport. But it is the right move. And this is a move that should have been made in the first window, much more early on. I think Drake Callender lost his starting job once Ustari resigned with Inter Miami. I think that is the moment, that was the sign. Talking about agents again, that is the moment where Drake Callender's agent should have taken a different approach. Sit him down and let him know, look, I know you're comfortable here. I know it's great. This is your team. This is where you got your first opportunity, but it is time to move on. We have a World Cup next year. You might have a shot at being the third goalkeeper on that team. We have to fight for that. And if we stay here, you're not playing, you're not going back to the national team this year. I think it was pretty clear from the get-go. Ustari, he's Messi's friend. And, Messi fans don't get upset about it. It's just a reality. If you are Messi's friend, Messi wants to play with his friends. He feels comfortable with his friends, which we all do, you know? It's not the same for me to do the podcast with you than if somebody calls me tomorrow and invites me to a different podcast. It's going to be different. It's not going to be the same. So I think it took way too long to make this decision. And on Inter Miami side, Drake is a goalkeeper that you can get something out of it. I'm waiting to see what they get because I think they can get something really good from this. We'll see what happens. I just think it's better for Drake and it's better for Inter Miami because Drake really doesn't deserve to be the second goalkeeper in this team.
Let's listen to, once again, Benjamin Kremaski talk about Drake Callender before we dive into the subject a little bit further. Again, I will translate after the fact.
Drake para mí siempre fue un gran compañero, él estuvo del inicio que yo subí a primera, así que yo con él estoy muy agradecido. Obviamente desearle lo mejor en esa nueva etapa. Yo sé que este año le costó por la lesión, por la cirugía que tenía que hacer y bueno, ojalá vuelva rápido a las canchas, porque sé que es un gran arquero, un gran líder y bueno, dentro de todo desearle lo mejor. Ya no lo vamos a enfrentar, así que lo vamos a poder volver a ver, así que no pasa nada. Son cosas que pasan en el fútbol y bueno, lo único que puedo hacer es agradecerlo y desearle lo mejor.
Kremaski wishing Callender, just like Redondo, the best of luck going forward, that he was there when he was moved up to the first team. Callender was there when Kremaski was moved up to the first team, and said, he has nothing but thanks for him. Talked about the leader he is, and thinks he'll go on to do good things. Again, there's at least right now there is a starting goalkeeper and a very good starting goalkeeper at Charlotte FC. To me, this move, if I'm a Charlotte observer fan, I would think something's going to happen. Something's going to happen. Drake Callender is going to be the number one in longer term. That means something's going to happen shorter term to the current starter. Probably going to be sold. I don't know where, but that's probably what this means. That's you're preparing for the exit. So that will be Christian Kalina, who's one of the top goalkeepers in MLS. My opinion on Drake Callender. Look, I get why for a lot of fans it's a tough pill to swallow, especially if they rate Drake Callender higher than Oscar Ustari. And my opinion is that Ustari is better than Drake Callender. Maybe Drake Callender has the potential. Maybe he has the tool in his arsenal to make a more acrobatic save because he's more athletically gifted, but he's not as sound fundamentally. And I think that has really come back to hurt him at points in his career. Then you throw in the fact that he doesn't fit the style of play that this team wants, right? This team wants a sweeper, keeper, goalkeeper who is comfortable on the ball, can pick out passes, can distribute the ball from left to right if need be. And Drake Callender is not that type of goalkeeper. You can see he made improvements during his time here, but it was not to the level that you would want it at if you're going to play that style. You still saw him look uncomfortable. It looked like it was something he was being forced to do, not something that came in naturally to him, which is fair, right? We all have our strengths. We all have our weaknesses. I think I know this is information. Inter Miami has had him on a list of players that they've wanted to part ways with for a while now. So this exit, this divorce, was a long time in the making. Long time. Even before the offseason last year. Last year's offseason, there were reports, or this past offseason, I'm sorry, there were reports that Inter Miami was looking for a goalkeeper. They never brought one in, at least not one of the targets they were initially linked with. And Drake Callender stuck around with Oscar Ustadi. They were supposed to fight for the starting spot in preseason camp. Well, Drake Callender gets hurt on U.S. men's national team duty, never really has the opportunity. Ustadi is named the number one, and for much of the year, aside from when he's been injured or suspended, he's been the go-to guy. And again, you look at the Al Ali game that Oscar Ustadi put forth, I think that game is better than any game that Drake Callender has had in his career. Drake Callender is at the beginning of his career. He has a long career. Maybe he has a much better game at some point later on. But right now, I think, in my opinion, even though I'm not saying Oscar Ustadi is the next Gianluigi Buffon, or he's, the Argentinian MLS version of Gianluigi Buffon, not even close to that, I think he gives you a better chance to win today. And in MLS, you just can't afford to have a player of Drake Callender's caliber as your number two long term. He definitely doesn't want to be a number two. He's a competitor. He knows he can start somewhere in this league. The report said that he was surprised to find out he was going to Charlotte. Also was not, again, reportedly kept in the loop about going to Charlotte FC, which again, right now has a number one. Now there's been some criticism for Inter Miami as to why they didn't keep him in the loop, give him some idea of where he was headed. I can understand that being, and I tweeted this, I can understand that being a nice gesture, especially for your all-time appearance leader. But if I'm Inter Miami, I don't let them know, because the rules are what the rules are. In American sports, trades can happen, and you do not have to, you are not obligated to tell a player, hey, we're going to send you here. Because if the player doesn't like it, then what's the player going to say? No, don't send me there. And then what? Now you're hurting yourself in terms of what you can recover for the player, because if that's the best deal, that's the best deal.
Yeah.
Just to make him happy. I mean, you could do that. And some teams in different sports and even in MLS have done it, but they're under no obligation to do so. Calendar closed, case closed. He'll go to Charlotte. He'll fight out for the number one spot. He'll probably be the long-term number one. But this is, like you said, good move for both parties at this point, in my opinion.
Yeah, and look, I can see how any player that comes from abroad feels like that is unusual or unexpected. But Drake knows the system. This is the system that Drake knows actually. Drake might find it differently if he plays someplace else, and people let them know you can't get traded here. There's no way you get traded. You sign a contract. That's it. But he knows the system, so I don't know. I completely agree with you. The team just can't go around and asking players. Well, all the players. We know there are players that they can ask what to do about their careers, but Drake, unfortunately, is not on that list. I completely agree. I think the team managed things well, and well, partially because we still have to know exactly what they're getting from Charlotte, which I expect them to get something good.
I imagine Inter Miami's preparing the social media sentimental videos and the pictures and the posts, and they'll have the touching music, and I'm sure they'll give him publicly a very proper farewell.
Are they playing Charlotte soon? Let me see.
They are. Kremaski does mention that.
I think I heard that from Bengham.
Yeah, Kremaski says we're going to play. We're going to be able to see him soon because we're going to be able to play against him soon.
September. Yeah, September 13th.
Okay,
but it's an away game. It's an away game.
So they'll see him. But again, I mean, look, there's no denying that in Inter Miami short history, Drake Callender has been the best goalkeeper that they've ever had. He will forever be a part of the history of Inter Miami. Helped win the first trophy, the actual first title in that Leagues Cup final, which was epic. And his performance in the penalty kicks was fantastic and memorable. Makes the stop, scores the decisive kick in the 11th round, and with very tense final. So he will forever be part of the Inter Miami history. And look, Futbol is full of crazy things. You know, you could leave today very upset, and in 10 years from now, when you're older and you're at the end of your career, you could find yourself back at home. I just say in quotations because that's not where he's from, but this is where he started. You know, you could find yourself back here and closing out your career here. So,
Yeah.
it's bitter for some people, but I think this is the right thing for the two parties. I think it's the right thing for two parties. And hopefully he gets the minutes he needs to continue his development. He wasn't going to get him here. Some people don't like this. Louis says Redondo leaving good because we had too many midfielders, but Drake leaving bad decision. There, Pedri Potter says 40-year-old Grandpa Ustari is better than prime PDF. Drake, Francisco Garcia, nunca digas de es agua no bebe. Okay. Oh, nunca digas de esa agua no beberé. Okay, got it. All right. Jose, we have 8 minutes because we got the Spanish show coming up. There's a couple of other rumors out there. I mean, Inter Miami did make a move today, traded for an international slot, which means something's brewing, of course. That something that they're brewing apparently is that they are looking to sign Argentine defender Gonzalo Piovi from Cruz Azul in Mexico. I think he's a left-footed center back, which clearly they need someone to fill that spot since David Martinez left. Yes, they have Noah Allen, but nobody else. It's a left-footed center back on this roster. So I think it's pretty much all signs are pointing that will be announced fairly soon. There's also reports that Tomas Aviles is potentially on his way out to Real Zaragoza.
Zaragoza, yes.
Which is owned in part by
Jorge Mas.
so Tomas Aviles, Jorge Mas pay himself from one account to another account, and very similar to the Federico Redondo, some creative management, creative accounting. Jose, we're not going to dive into every single one. We'll wait until they become more official.
Right.
I'm going to start on this one. To me, this reads very clearly, we're getting rid of players that Mascherano did not bring in, and they're going to bring players that Mascherano does rate. And that's normal, right? This is completely normal.
Yeah.
Coaches bring in players that they rate. They get rid of the ones that they were leftovers from the previous regime. In MLS, it takes a little bit more time because you have a salary cap. You don't have an unlimited amount of spending you can do to get rid and bring and all that. So,
Tata did it when he came in as well. So, yeah, it's completely normal.
So, right. So they're flushing out what they don't want, and they're going to bring in players that they do want. I think this is what we're really seeing here in this transfer window. And anything you want to add with regards to that? Otherwise, we're going to switch gears to Lionel Messi. You can give us a very quick update on where he stands after seeing him back in training this week.
No, nothing. Not a lot more to add. Just I've gotten some information that there are moves happening. There are moves happening soon because the window will close on the 21st, so that's 7 days away. So the next week is going to be we're going to see players coming in and out of Inter Miami, but we'll see. Maybe next week we do a pod and I can give you more info.
Very farewell. Fair or very fair. So update on Messi.
Well, Wednesday was a little bit surprising to see him go out with the group. The 15 minutes that we were allowed to be there, he worked with everybody. That it was an interesting sighting because Mascherano was in the ronda with the rest of the second group. Not. Well, I shouldn't call it the second group, but
está bien. Es uno de los temas que vamos a tocar en el próximo programa. It's one of the talking points on the Spanish show. If you speak Spanish, stick around, porque ahí sí se va a poner caliente.
Okay, so, but he was there. I mean, they're just short on players, I guess, because Orlando's still working on the side. I think Messi might be ready for Saturday. Because going back to the time he missed, it was basically a week. Yeah, it was 2 games, but it was just a week. So I think Messi should be back Saturday. I would go out and say he'll be on the roster, and then maybe he plays or not, depending on how the game is going. It's LA Galaxy, so you can win the game in 20 minutes, and then you might not need him. But I'm sure he'll be ready for Tigres. Yeah, that I think we can count on because that by that time he'll have more than a week of full training. But we'll talk to Mascherano tomorrow morning and see what's the update. But I think things are looking good. He looked fine. He looked fine.
But we only see the first 15 minutes where
Yes, but you know what the nugget was? There was nothing set up for him on the side. Nothing at all. It was just everything that was set up for him on the side was for Ovando. Unless he joined Ovando later on, which could have happened. But
could happen.
signs point that, he
So
he looked good.
You expect him to be in the roster on Saturday versus the LA Galaxy.
I would expect him to be eligible to play on Saturday.
Okay.
But I'm not 100% sure that he will start. We're gonna have to wait and talk to Mascherano to see how things go. But we know the signs. He'll probably won't tell us that he will start, but he can tell us if he trained fully this week. Because I think Wednesday was the first training session of the week. So if he trained this morning and then tomorrow morning, then that's a pretty good sign.
There's some back and forth in the comment section. Stancy says, Betty Potter, how are you on multiple podcasts at the same time? And Betty Potter responds, just like you, my friend. Nick Smith says, that's what trolls do, LOL. So there you go.
It's good. It's good. It's good to have this Inter Miami conversations. I think, everybody, we wish a lot more from MLS. We see leagues all over the world. The Mexican league, you have 3 or 4 options on your cable channels that you can go to, and you'll see 24/7 conversation about Liga MX and their teams. I think that's something that's missing for Inter Miami. So I think it's fine that people go looking for places. Hopefully you guys stay here, and we're happy to have you all.
Stancy says, also people with no life, winky face.
Nah, come on. It's 10 p.m. It's time to chill, relax.
Thursday night,
Yeah, it's Thursday. It's fun. It's fun.
Jose, I know you have to run because you've got, again, those other commitments. Although, again, the other show doesn't start until 10:15.
Is Alonso Linka waiting?
Actually, 10:20.
Is he on the lobby?
He's not there yet. He's not there. It doesn't start till 10:20. So we're gonna quickly preview the game against LA Galaxy on Saturday night at Chase Stadium in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Inter Miami looking to bounce back from their lopsided defeat, La Goleada, against Orlando City. We expect Inter Miami to win, but Jose, tell me how you think Inter Miami lines up. I know you've already said that you do not think Messi will start. So who is in the 11? Give me your 11.
No, I didn't say that. I said I'm gonna have to wait until tomorrow, but
you got to give me a prediction now. Now I'm gonna put your hands to the fire.
Okay, so Drake start. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so Study, Chelo, Gonzalo.
Nick Smith says Alonso still out at the Orlando Stadium dancing, which is funny.
All right, yes, that's very
funny. Sorry.
Ustadi? Okay, so Ustadi, Chelo, Lujan, Falcon, and Jordi.
Okay.
Then I think we get Bright and Boosie and DePaul. Although DePaul, which interesting nugget, another one, he was absent from training on Wednesday, getting his visa finally done. The last steps, getting the stamp. But
I thought he couldn't play unless that was done.
No, he could. Remember that Toto? I think was it Toto that did something like that this year. There were a couple of players, and I think Facu Farias did it as well. So I'm thinking that's a quick in and out. But if not, then he might be missing. But I'm thinking he'll be back. So I'm gonna include DePaul, and then Tadeo, Telasco. There's Messi playing.
No, but Suarez has to start. You just gave me 10 players.
Yes, I know. But I was thinking again if I can remove Yannick Bright, and I'm going to remove Yannick Bright. Wow. I think Messi will play. So I'm going to take out Yannick Bright, leave Busi and De Paul in the middle, Tadeo on the right, Telasco on the left, Messi and Suarez. I think that's what's going to happen. Although what I would do personally, I would remove Tadeo Allende from the starting lineup.
So there's been a lot of talk lately about Tadeo Allende because he hasn't played particularly well as of late, yet he continues to start game in and game out.
He has been bad, man. He has been bad.
So explain to me then, from what you can perceive, tu lectura, your reading into why he continues to start despite his poor performances.
Because they sent Robert Taylor away and they shouldn't have. That's why he's playing. Because that's Robert Taylor's spot in this team. If Robert Taylor was on this team, Robert Taylor could have won that job from Tadeo Allende. But as it is right now, doesn't matter what Fafa does. Doesn't matter what Fafa does. He's never going to win that job from Tadeo Allende. We saw a glimpse of the main reason why he's not going to win the job. Because I'm not saying his relationship is bad with Luis Suarez or Messi. They just don't get along on the field. They see the game differently. Fafa wants to play as fast as possible, win the one-on-one, get in the box, score. Messi and Suarez, they want to slow things down. Mascherano wants to slow things down for his best players, which makes sense. But the chemistry is not there between Fafa and Suarez. And we saw it against Orlando. So he's not going to win that job. He's just going to be the guy that comes in the second half, try to provide a spark, which he hasn't been able to do lately. And Tadeo Allende is just a starter, a player that they see that can perform over 70, 75 minutes, and they see Fafa as a player that can come in the second half. They maybe do something different. No more than that. So he has no competition, and that's why he's not playing well as well.
So I think they start him for some of the reasons you touched on. I don't agree with all of it, but I think one of the reasons they start him is because he has speed that they feel can help stretch back lines, where the rest of the team, at least the starting group, the normal starting group, doesn't have those wheels to really get in behind a backline. Tadeo has the ability to do that. Now, does he have the ability to take a proper first touch? Does he have the ability to be as clinical as he needs to be? I mean, those are fair questions. Probably not, based on what we've seen as of late, and probably what we've seen over the course of the year. It's been very inconsistent from him. But right now, he's in a bad run of form. I agree with you. I think it's time that they take him out. I think it's been time that they take him out, at least for a game, just to get him, get his mind right. Maybe start to fear for his starting spot. You got to change it up because it's clearly not working. But nonetheless,
just put some pressure on him.
Absolutely.
Let him know. Hey, look, I don't like what I'm seeing right now. So Ben is going to play and whatever Ben can do, I'll gamble and I'll see what he provides. But you're not playing if you don't get it better. And I think that would be the right move. And I'm sure he'll respond to that. But if you're starting when you're not playing well, then he scored a goal a couple games ago, so he's gonna be like, well, but I'm scoring. I did score a goal. I don't know. I think I like to put pressure on my players.
Right, it's not that daily motivation, right? It's not that daily competition that pushes you to stay sharp.
Yeah.
Iron sharps iron. Right now, there's only one piece of iron with a lead touch. No, I'm just kidding. My starting lineup is Ustari. He returned to the fray against Orlando City. Didn't have a great performance. Se comió el tercer gol, right? The third goal?
Yeah.
I think it was the third goal. By the way, we didn't give any shout out or love to the Peruvian goalkeeper, Pedro Galese, for making a fantastic save.
Oh, what a save.
Luis Suarez is,
that's the save of the year. That's the save of the year.
Save. Luis Suarez tries to shoot from almost midfield, a little bit past midfield. Thought he had hung Pedro Galese. Great reaction, great ability to shuffle his feet, get back, and fly up into the air to paw the shot away. But anyway, my starting lineup: Ustari, Chelo, Peluca Falcon, Lujan, Jordi Alba. So I agree with the back five, although I think the center back tandem is switched. Midfield, again, we're going 4-4-2, Javier Mascherano staple. I think you have Rodrigo de Paul on the right. I think you have Sergio Busquets and Yannick Bright in the middle. That's the double pivot. Yannick Bright has been playing very well as of late. Forget the goal. He's just been playing very well, getting stuck into tackles, giving Inter Miami that bite. Maybe that's a bit too defensive-minded at home against the Galaxy, but I think he stays in there because he's been playing well. Velasco Segovia on the left. Up top, I think you'll have Luis Suarez and Tadeo Allende. So it'll be a 4-4-2 or a 4-2-3-1 hybrid, but pretty much a 4-4-2. I expect Inter Miami to win. Let's say they give up a goal, but they win 3-1. 3-1 victory for Inter Miami. Do you have a prediction, a score prediction?
Yeah, I think they score 5 on the LA Galaxy.
5-0, 5-1?
5-0.
Okay.
Messi comes back, scores a hat trick. 5-0. LA Galaxy has conceded 52 goals. 52 goals in 25 games. I mean, come on. Messi plays that game.
He wins the Golden Boot.
Yes.
All right. Jose, we will leave it there. We did this underneath the hour in 10 minutes. For all our regular viewers and even listeners who hear this after the fact, if you speak Spanish, don't go anywhere or just flip the channel to the next one or to the next episode because we're doing a Miami Total Football Radio en Español. Alonso Contreras and myself.
How many people in the chat speak Spanish?
A lot.
How can we test that out?
I would have to do a poll or something, but
Anybody that speaks Spanish, can you type 1?
there was a lot of people that I get at least a third of the comments here are in Spanish. So
yeah. So a lot of people need to stick around for
another
the hour. Another hour?
Yeah, another hour. We'll do another hour because we're going to touch on some of the similar things, but not exactly the same show. It's not going to be the same show. Obviously, it's not going to be with you. So we have a different personality,
right?
Different co-host, and we have different talking points that I didn't even get to with you. I didn't want to.
Oh, you have to talk about the Benja wanting to play.
We've got.
Oh, that's juicy right there.
We've got Benja Kremaski sound bites that Alonso hasn't been briefed on. We've got Fafa comments from last Saturday. We've got some different talking points. Diferentes temas de conversación que vamos a tener en el programa en español, que va a ser en 7 minutos.
That was juicy.
Okay?
That's juicy right there. I would stay just for that.
Hey, feel free, but I know you got other things to do. But if you want to, you're more than welcome. And if we do the Spanish show again, I will not make any promises. But if there's good feedback, I know Jose is probably dying to talk Inter Miami in Spanish. I know Andrea for sure is. I think there is obviously an audience for it, but let's see how it goes. Because obviously 2 episodes in different languages, it's going to be overlap at some point. But let's see how it goes. I'm curious to see. I mean, I want to see how I hold up. The lights are shining bright on me because I have to now change gears and do Spanish and manage the show. And so it's the first time doing it. Let's see how it goes. So we will leave it there. Talked about a lot of different things, and we did it in incredible timing. No cards distributed today. Jose, thank you very much for joining me for the first half of Miami Total Football Radio, a back-to-back, a 2-a-day session today. And you are off duty. You get to go enjoy the rest of your Thursday evening away from the pod. I think Motagua plays tonight. So
absolutely. We need 3 points tonight.
All right, everybody. Oh, I heard the sound. Alonso is in the lobby for the second show.
Oh boy.
So we will finish it there. We will be back next week in English at some point. Don't know if it'll be beginning, middle, or end. Hopefully before the Tigres game. It's a big one, juicy one.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll get an episode in before then. So for Jose Armando, I am Franco Penizo. Don't go anywhere. Switch gears to the next channel. El de Español se viene en 5 minutos. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Like, share, subscribe. Listen to the show in Spanish. Watch the show in Spanish. We will talk to you guys again very, very soon. And again, you've been listening to, in English, Miami Total Football Radio.